All right, everybody, welcome in Season 3, Episode 30 of the Swishlist Podcast. We have a lot to get into. We'll give you our first round reactions, second round predictions. How come more people aren't coming down on Nikola Jokic? Losing team exit interviews, first round, who we were most impressed with. What do you do with the Eastern Conference? What's more important, having the greatest peak of all time or longevity? And could NFL players actually translate to the NBA and fill that Asar Thompson, Lou Dort role? I don't think these football players know what they're talking about. We'll get to that at the very end. First round reactions, though, Roman. We thought we were going to get some incredible game sevens today. And if you were a Detroit Pistons fan, you did. And if you're a Cleveland Cavaliers fan, you did. But Roman, give me the rundown. You pick whatever game you want to start with. I'd love to hear your reaction watching some of these first round games.
Well, let's go with the first one. Let's go with the Pistons game. I mean, it was back and forth the entire first half. Seemed like Paulo came to play. Seemed like Cade came to play.
Yeah.
And it was really going to be what supporting cast is going to figure this out. So we go into the halftime, and it's a close game. And Tobias Harris locked in and made the difference. This man was just hitting clutch shot after clutch shot, and Duncan Robinson poured in a couple threes. Dennis Jankin also poured in some help as well. This game was really a toss-up, which is crazy to say for this 1 seed, 8 seed, but Pistons really came in through those last 6 quarters. It seemed like after having that crazy run for the first half of Game 6, they locked in. They switched up. They showed that they are the 1 seed. I want to know what JV Bickerstaff said to this team to make them lock in because, man, that speech must have been incredible. But top to bottom, the entire roster locked in on their defensive assignments. Cade started taking the offense a bit more serious. He wanted the moment. He took the moment in those last 6 quarters, and the Pistons prevent.
It felt like Cade wasn't forcing the ball as well. Like his usage rate was down a little bit because other players were scoring. And so when he was picking his spots, he was able to get to moves without having to force it as much, which I appreciated. Jalen Duren was way more effective in this game, I feel like, than the vast majority of the series. They got him into the action early. He had the trailing dunk play. He really showed up. But I agree with you. Paolo came out and he was like, I'm going to win this game. And he was on fire. And then it just felt like Desmond Bane kind of disappeared. Not having Franz really hurt this team as well because he is so important to that offense. Like when they do stall out, he is the guy who they can go to just get them a bucket if Powell's not in the game or he's not really scoring. And so Cade gets things going with Jalen early. Tobias takes over the second quarter. I think he went into the halftime with 19 points. And the truth is, when it comes to the Detroit Pistons, if they're going to go on a run to the finals, they need Tobias Harris to be this player 4 out of 7 games. You have to get this type of performance out of him on a much more consistent basis because there's no one else on the team that's really going to bring it. I think Jalen is trying to figure out what to do with playoff basketball, and he's going to have a very difficult matchup in the second round dealing with Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen. That is going to be difficult for him. And so if you're Cade, right, and you're going to go, neither one of the Cavs are going to be able to defend you, and we'll talk about that later, but I just loved the fact that Detroit's roster showed up. They never looked sped up at all in these games. They were very confident. As soon as they mounted that comeback in Game 6, we knew the series was over. Cavs Raptors, I thought we were going to get this all-time Donovan Mitchell game at home. I thought we'd get a major James Harden assist game. And in the first half, it felt like the Cavs didn't know they were playing in a Game 7. But the indictment on the Raptors was at the end of the first and second quarter, with the Cavs really not playing well, the game was close. They never were able to pull away. Some of it was Scotty Barnes in foul trouble, but the majority of it was their inability to rebound the basketball. The Cavs doubled them up in rebounds very early in the game, and they never let off the gas pedal. They doubled them up in offensive rebounds. Last I checked, in the third quarter, they could not defend Jarrett Allen. They could not defend Evan Mobley. And it wasn't because the players weren't good. It was just they didn't have enough bigs. Like they did not have the size to be able to match up with this team. And so when Jakob Poeltl gets into foul trouble in the first, you knew it was going to be a challenge for him. And when you're missing Brandon Ingram and you're missing Quigley, that's major scoring. That's just not playing. And they just didn't have the names. They don't have the guys that are able to backfill that type of scoring in a Game 7. And so Donovan Mitchell is lucky that he got to have a average game, below average game, a non-memorable game, and gets to walk out winning a game 7. And I don't know if there's a guy that misses more three-pointers and the rebounds just fly to the three-point line. When Donovan misses, it's back rim and it's going far. It's one of the weirdest
It's
things
that
I've
high
seen.
arcing shot. It's so
Yes.
high arcing that every single time, if it's a miss, it's a bad miss. He does get a lot of his own rebounds, but I agree with you. It seems like neither team came into it ready for the moment. Like the Raptors seemed a little bit more prepared.
Yeah.
The Cavs were just kind of on the back burner for that first quarter or so. Thank goodness that they had to lean on Scotty Barnes for the majority of their scoring, because if RJ had a great first quarter, second quarter, and they had BI there at the game, I think it would have been a 20-point game immediately. Cavs had absolutely no offense. They are so lucky that they were just able to stay in the game. And Cavs couldn't get really any shooting going. And what I'm learning about the Cavs is that they really do depend on that three-point line. Max Strus being back, Sam Merrill coming off the bench. If Sam Merrill wasn't hitting in that second quarter, I don't know what they would have done. But they could not hit shots in that first half, and it really affects them. Yeah, Jared Allen gets his inside buckets. Donovan Mitchell gets his cool swoop through, but they depend on their shooting so much. And like you said, the superstars just went kind of quiet. So it was like, when are they going to lock in and take over this game? And in the third quarter, nobody expected this to happen, but Jared Allen just decided, I'm going to be the most dominant big man in the NBA. I think he had a double in the third quarter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
he finished the game with 19 rebounds. Yeah.
22 points, 19 rebounds. Like, it seemed like every single board was his. I remember seeing a missed free throw that he just went and grabbed and got 2 points from it. Hustle plays, stealing the ball, taking it coast to coast. He wanted to win, and he showed that. I think he's seen too many playoff series go this long and end up losing. The series with the Magic a few years ago where they barely squeak it out. I think Jared Allen just got really pissed and he wanted to win. So shout out to Jared Allen for being the closer for the Cavs tonight.
Not only that, who thought Max Strus was going to be a lockdown defender? This guy was guarding 94 feet. He brought tons of energy to the game. He was a
playoff experience.
Him and Sam Merrill, they were big time. So it was the others that won that game. Absolutely. Now you look at Boston and the 76ers. The Boston as a team, it was kind of difficult to know what the expectation should have been for these guys, because they go into the season, they have no Tatum, they overachieve, they get the 2 seed. Tatum comes back. A lot of people thought too early. You specifically said that this exact thing would happen, and it did, with him getting hurt at the very end and it costing them the series. But I don't know what I expected from Boston. I weirdly don't feel bad that they're out. They leave you with a what could have been, because they really did have a path to make it out of the East. But I'm more frustrated with Joe Mazzulla's inability to walk away from jacking up three-pointers, not being able to run different coverages to deal with Joel Embiid, not running an offense that was able to attack the drop coverage with Joel Embiid in the paint, and then putting one of the strangest lineups we've ever seen in a Game 7 on the floor by choice. So I'm more frustrated with Joe than I am anything else coming out of the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, a very interesting series. Didn't really feel like we're playing chess, they're playing checkers type of thing. It just felt who's going to be healthy. And this is interesting for the 76ers, because all of a sudden they do have a healthy Paul George. Joel Embiid is playing through everything. Tyrese Maxey is healthy. Like, this
and
team might be
been
dangerous.
Great too.
Yeah, the Rook is getting good minutes and making great plays. He's playing like a vet out there. So, and you have Kelly Oubre, who's always been an established role player in the league. So it makes things interesting. But yeah, talking about the Boston Celtics, just really interesting from Joe Mazzulla. We know that the Celtics are live or die by the three type of team. I mean, they take the most three-pointers from any team in the league. But like you said, the way that the 76ers were playing defense on them, it was daring them to take more threes. We're going to go under screens. We're not going to hedge these screens. We're going to make sure that you guys take all these threes. If you live or die by it, we're going to bet on the fact that, who knows, you might have a few games where it goes downhill. So you have a 3-1 lead, and then it just starts to go downhill. These averages start to come out. And I think this is exactly what the 76ers were hoping for. And it worked out. Obviously, the Jason Tatum injury again, I just go back to the point of I don't think he should have played in the first place. The Boston Celtics got to this 2 seed without him. Obviously, he helps. It's Jason Tatum. This guy's finished first team All NBA 5 times in his 8-year career. So there's no doubt that he was going to help your team, but at what cost? You start to depend on him. You know that he's the best player. And then it comes up left knee tightness. So he's going to have to sit for game 7. And you throw out this awful lineup. Like you said, I don't know what he was thinking there. Tactical. Why are you starting Garza, who's never started? You have Cade, who has established himself as a dominant big in the NBA and helped you get to this 2 seed. And you put Garza out there as your starter. Sam Hauser, who started a bunch of games for the team this year. You start Baylor Shireman over him. And Ron Harper Jr., who has been a garbage minute player the entire year, you decide to put him in the starting lineup. I just don't know what this smart Joe Mazzulla coach was doing. It just doesn't make any sense. I get maybe you're trying to be tactical, but now is not the time to try and do that. It's a game 7. Put the guys out there that can give you the best chance.
It strangely reminded me of like when Bill Belichick for the Patriots would bench players just randomly. He benched a player notoriously in the Super Bowl, and it basically cost the Patriots a Super Bowl, and he never was super clear on why he did it. Like, just a weird ego move out of Joe that completely backfired, and something that he should be held accountable for years to come.
Yeah.
The Knicks posted an absolute beatdown on the Atlanta Hawks. Everything we expected the Knicks to be in the series, if they played at their best, they were in that final game. You have to be a big-time Knicks fan or just obsessed with basketball to finish this game. You could make the argument this was worse than the game that we watched in person when the Knicks beat the Nets. This was ugly fast. But it's great because the Knicks were able to prove without a shadow of a doubt they were the better team in that series. You can lose to anybody on any given Sunday, on any given night, but the Knicks, when given the opportunity, proved that they're the best team. OG, conveniently, when Anne Hathaway makes a comment about him, puts up a generational performance. This man plays conveniently well anytime a famous woman talks about him in the media.
Yeah.
Karl Anthony Towns looked like Nikola Jokic without the scoring. I think he had a triple-double on 4 shots total. Jalen Brunson continued to dominate scoring the basketball, and you saw a massive impact from Josh Hart and Mikal Bridges on both sides of the ball. When the Knicks are operating on full cylinders, they're an incredible team. And now the East truly is wide open. And so I was super impressed with them. I'm not disappointed in the Hawks. I felt like they overachieved being able to take those 2 games and making it competitive, giving themselves a shot. This is a team that had to reinvent themselves at the trade deadline and shifted their identity to becoming a Jalen Johnson team. And now that he's gotten this experience, bet you anything, this is going to be a big-time motivator for him in the offseason. So super excited that the Knicks were able to put the Hawks to bed and for what's to come for them.
Yeah, I think the Hawks that was my team that was underrated coming into the playoffs. I thought they were going to make this a competitive series, and they did that through 4 games. I think they surprised everybody, and this is what championship teams are made of. I really liked what the Knicks did. They made the adjustments, and game 5 and 6, they just looked like the better team. It did not matter what the Hawks threw at them, especially in game 6, obviously. But yeah, the adjustments were made. This happens in the playoffs. You're going to have teams that are much worse than you that are able to compete. This is what it's all about. And the whole team just made the adjustments. Everybody competed. And this was the best version of the Knicks that we have seen. So this could be scary. It's a lot of implications for what next round looks like. I think the 76ers have a lot of talent, but the Knicks know what they're made of. Cat was able to do that on not shooting the ball. Like, he was the distributor for the team. Having the ball up top, like you said, looking like Jokic the entire game. So 76ers are not a defensive team, so it kind of worries me going into the series. We'll see. We'll see what this looks like. Shout out to the Hawks for what they did as well. They were able to steal 2 games. CJ was incredible. Jalen Johnson has set himself up as a franchise player. Jonathan Kuminga will have a starting role, I'm sure of it, next year. So Hawks, great things to look forward to as a 6 seed. So we'll see what we get from them. But just shout out to the Knicks for closing out the series.
Yeah, I want to talk about LeBron and the Lakers. Just one of the weirdest narrative shifts that I've ever seen. It reminded me of an episode of Survivor where you don't know who's going to go home and the votes just keep on flipping. At first, it was the Lakers have no chance. If LeBron wins this series, he's the GOAT. Then it's Kevin Durant is the worst teammate in the history of basketball, and LeBron James is up 3-0. The Rockets win a couple games, and LeBron all of a sudden is super washed. The Lakers suck. And if LeBron loses this, it's an indictment on his career. The Lakers then win the series, and LeBron is not the GOAT. The Rockets just suck. So it's just such a weird dynamic when you see anything with LeBron's name in it. Austin Reeves comes back at the end. He was okay. Didn't look bad, but wasn't overwhelmingly great either. The Lakers are able to put the Rockets to bed, and the Rockets, a team that lost Steven Adams, Fred VanVleet, and was missing Kevin Durant. Basically, all of the veteran championship leadership that they brought in was not on the floor and couldn't be because they were injured. And so that's what you kind of get. I think that the Rockets are fine. I think they have all of the pieces in the building. They just need to make sure that they're healthy when they're rolling into the postseason next year. But I'm happy for the Lakers, specifically Rui Hachimura. A lot of people talked about the Marcus Smart games. A lot of people talked about the Luke Cornett games. But there's nobody in the playoffs shooting the three ball like Rui is right now. He had an incredible first round. And so major game from him. LeBron had an incredible game as well to close out the series. Fantastic for the Lakers. That's as good as it's going to get for you. And I'm glad you got one good series.
Yeah, Lakers did their job here. I wasn't assuming that it was going to matter if Kevin Durant was there or not for the longest time. I mean, he's out game one. We'll see what happens. But LeBron showed that he is still a playoff mode entered type of guy. I don't care how old he is. He put on for this series. He put up his numbers, and he led the Lakers to winning this series. Yeah, the Rockets were able to steal a couple at the end, but there's a few reasons for that. But you said AR comes back. He's just coming back off his injury. But yeah, now you have to run into the team who's competing for a championship. Nobody expects the Lakers to do anything here. I think at most, Austin Reeves gets a few games under his belt in game 1 and 2, and maybe you get a historic performance from LeBron and AR in one of these home games in game 3 or 4. But OKC is a championship level team. The Lakers are missing their best player. So I don't think we're going to see much out of them. It's going to be a funny series because you're going to get to see LeBron play against this high-energy, young championship team. But we should see a very dominant statement series from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah, I also it's a great segue into talking about the Nuggets and the Timberwolves. You want to know the proof that Nikola Jokic isn't the greatest center of all time? You want to know the proof that Nikola Jokic is not a top 5 or top 10 or top 3 player all time? It's the fact that he just got handed the worst first round loss I have ever seen in my life. And there are people legitimately out there trying to defend him. Because if you actually are the greatest player on the planet, like LeBron was, nobody would let you walk away from this. Nobody on the planet would let you not accept the fact that you just put up the worst series I've ever seen. And if you want to talk to me about the stats, I don't care, because what you don't see on the offense is everything he gave up on the defense. You let Terrence Shannon Jr. look like an all-star against you, a guy that wasn't even in the rotation because you are inept at defending the rim. And to go along with that, for people saying that, oh my gosh, he didn't have any help, he had an all-star in Jamal Murray next to him. Not to mention, he played a Timberwolves team that was missing 3 players scoring double digits in the series to injury. You got smacked up by Rudy Gobert, Jaden McDaniels, and old Mike Conley, bench guys who don't play, and you got sent home in embarrassing fashion. You're supposed to be the most dominant center. I didn't see Shaq doing this when he was the most dominant center. Hakeem wasn't doing this when he was the most dominant center. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar wasn't doing this when he was the most dominant center. So don't put Jokic in that conversation with any one of those names until this man figures out how to play on both sides of the ball and actually can do something relevant in the postseason after the year 2023 when he beat an 8 seed Miami Heat. Fair?
Yeah, this is the most embarrassing thing that could have happened for Jokic. It shows the weakness of Jokic and the Nuggets. Like you said, you can talk about stats, you can talk about everything, but at the end of the day, the leadership needs to be there if you're going to be one of the greats. You need to command winning, and we're not getting that from Jokic. I think this just shows how important Aaron Gordon is to this team and how much he does for them, but you just didn't get that emotional feel from the team. Even at their best, it never felt good. You're telling me you can't even force a 7th game versus Julius Randle and Jaden McDaniels? Like, Terrence Shannon is going for 24 in game 6. This is the narrative that we're going to have. This is the type of players that Jokic was losing to in the first round as a 3 seed versus the 6 seed. I know his supporting cast isn't good, but it doesn't matter for the greats. You're supposed to be able to go out there and still do your job. And what we're starting to realize is Jokic needs a good supporting cast. He needs the right fit. So he doesn't have his coach that won him a championship anymore. He's got his replacement, and he's missing his glue guy, the guy who was supposed to be there for them defensively. And I think that really hurt them. I think it really did. It causes guys to have to play roles that they're not used to. So you can give a shout out to Tim Hardaway for what he did. Cam Johnson was probably really the only reason they were in the game for game 6.
He was good.
But
game 6.
Yeah, Jokic was just a big disappointment. It just felt like on the defensive end, we were getting absolutely nothing from him, and that's not what you get from the greats.
For people that want to compare this loss to the Miami Heat in 2011, first of all, LeBron went to the finals. Jokic lost in the first round, and LeBron lost to multiple Hall of Famers. He lost to Dirk Nowitzki, who had played in the finals before and was a top 3 power forward all time. He lost to Dirk Nowitzki, who went on a generational playoff run, one of the top 3 greatest playoff gauntlets that we have ever seen in the history of this game. He also lost to Hall of Famer Jason Kidd. He lost to Jason, and I know Jason was old. I know he was old, but he lost to multiple Hall of Famers. LeBron put up a generational, abysmal performance in the finals. He still went to the finals. Jokic
in his first year with the team, too.
And yes, in his first year with the Heat. Jokic lost in the first round to fringe all-stars, a team that was missing 3 double-digit scores. Never in the history of the game has a franchise lost to a team that looked like that. They got out-coached. They got outmatched. They were outclassed by a Minnesota Timberwolves team missing everybody. There's never been anything worse than this. I don't want to hear about when Dallas lost before, when they lost to Golden State. I don't want to hear about any of these other teams because those guys were playing against the best guys. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, Jokic is going to need quite the performance next year. If he's not competing with OKC for a championship next year, there's going to be a rough conversation about where we rank this guy.
Okay, let's be real. Let's be real though, Roman. Is the window closed? Because the Spurs will be better next year than they are this year, and Oklahoma City is not going anywhere. Do you think there's a world where Denver can compete with either of those teams, who both have legitimate centers, who are defensive centers, and have a full rotation of players around them?
If your reload is real, if everybody is on the table except for Jokic, if you can go out and make a trade for another all-star for a Jamal Murray, if you can go get a close to all-star caliber player like Aaron Gordon, if you're going to reset this roster completely and try something new, you can see where it goes, but it's make or break next year. It truly is make or break.
I don't know who you get that's going to work with high usage rate, no defense, Nikola Jokic. Good luck.
And the free agency pool next year I don't think it's very good.
I think it's 2 years away. I think it's in 2 years it gets really good. So it's a disaster in Denver. Okay, let's start talking about some of our second round predictions. Let's stick with the Timberwolves and the Spurs. The Western Conference second round is already locked up. We don't even have to watch the games. It's kind of sad that these games aren't going to be better just because of how dominant the teams are. This reminds me of when Golden State and Houston were in the playoffs, and it was like, okay, nobody can compete with these two teams. We know that these two teams are going to play against each other, and the West just wasn't super relevant until those two teams played. It feels like that's what we're getting right now, where I look at the Spurs. They're playing against the Timberwolves team once again, missing 3 double-digit scores. Ant's not coming back at the earliest until game 3. And the only way that the Wolves with the remaining roster are able to score is attacking the basket. Jaden McDaniels shoots middies and floaters. If you're playing Terrence Shannon Jr., he's trying to get to the rim. Julius Randle, same thing. Rudy Gobert, same thing. When you're missing all those guys, guess who's in the paint for the Spurs? The alien. Victor Wembanyama's in there. So it is the worst possible matchup for this team at this stage. I don't see there being any world where they can compete with San Antonio.
Me neither. This should be sweep, at most gentlemen's sweep.
Yeah.
You're about to run into the best defense when Wemby is on the court. Rudy Gobert at the center, trying to compete with Wemby. You can try all these different matchups that you want. Don't think it's going to matter. The man is an alien. He has shown that, he can have some incredible playoff performances. I'm just excited to watch it happen. But the Timberwolves might put up a fight for one game just because this is the NBA. You never know what can happen. It feels like we might get one of those random Tuesday games where one of these guys goes for 35. But yeah, Spurs are just a better team in every single way.
Yeah, it will be fun to get to see the prototype versus the version 2 model of French centers. You get to see Wemby go against Gobert. That will be fun to watch. And you just have to hope, if you're a Spurs fan, that Wemby doesn't catch a wild Gobert elbow to the face or something, because he can get a little. It's not that he's like dirty. It's just that sometimes he just seems uncoordinated and just kind of takes a swing at some guys. So we'll have to see what happens. When you look at staying in the West, Thunder Lakers, we talked about it a little bit, but I agree. There is no world where the Lakers are capable of beating the Oklahoma City Thunder. LeBron James, he doesn't have enough around him. If the Lakers were struggling for a couple of games against Houston, a young team that was depleted, they don't have anything that they can throw at Shai Gilgeous-Alexander that is going to slow him down in the slightest. Prime LeBron used to be able to take that matchup and would make it very competitive. But the problem with this roster is they don't have anyone that would even make Shai flinch. And so when you don't have anybody that can shut down the superstar, even without Jalen Williams, they don't need him in this series. The role players that are around, and then Chet in the middle, and what I think he's going to be capable of doing against DeAndre Ayton, I've got this one. I actually think it's going to be a sweep. I don't even know if the Lakers win a single game.
Yeah, I'm going to go gentleman's sweep. Like I said, Austin Reeves is back. So maybe we get a game where we get one of those historic performances. We get about 70 points, 75 points from Bron and AR. But they just can't compete. The numbers are there for OKC. The players are there. The depth is there. If we're putting out Bronny James for 15 minutes a game as a Lakers squad, then you're OKC. You're saying, what are we doing here? It does not matter. If you have Shai matching up with Bronny James, it's a bad thing. So this team can shoot the ball. This team plays defense. Chet is healthy. They have their 1-2 punch, and it's not going to matter either. Marcus Smart is going to have some fun antics to show for this, but we know what's going to happen.
Listen, it is May 3rd, 2026. I am predicting it right now. Lou Dort is going to hurt Austin Reeves or LeBron James at some point in this series. He is going to do something dirty to one of those two players. You can book it right now.
Okay.
I can't wait to clip this and then show what he did. In the East, the Knicks and the Sixers. I think both fan bases have been waiting for this exact scenario. They've had rosters that are capable of going to the finals, but the way that things lined up, or the teams that they played, they would get upset, or they would run into a very healthy Boston Celtics teams in years previous. But this is it. The floor is wide open. There's nobody remaining in the Eastern Conference that you're afraid of. And this is the year where, if you're Joel Embiid, you actually you fulfill on trusting the process, and you are going to the finals, or at least the conference finals. And if you're Jalen Brunson, you're going to take the Knicks back to legitimate postseason success. It all comes down to this series, and I think both fan bases have been in this holding pattern with these rosters and are hoping for the same thing. And I actually think this is going to be the most fun series to watch in the second round. This is must-see TV. You've got Tyrese versus Jalen. You've got Paul George, who's playing well, but OG is there on the defensive end. You've got VJ Edgecombe with Josh Hart. You've got Karl Anthony Towns versus Joel Embiid. You know Cat's not a defender. Then you have the Mitchell Robinson element, and Joel has been on fire lately. This really is an incredible matchup. You've got Kelly Oubre, who's able to score, and everything that these guys are bringing off the bench. This feels, even though it's a 3-7, this feels a lot more evenly matched than people want to give this series credit. I can't wait to see it. Roman, who do you have winning?
If both teams stay healthy, I honestly like the 76ers. Like Joel healthy, Tyrese Maxey healthy, but the Knicks are a 3 seed. Like they do have a good roster.
They do.
I think we're going 7 games. To be honest, I think this is going to be a back and forth. I think it's going to be blowouts though. Like these teams, it's just going to be who's hitting that night. Home battle, but like somebody comes out, punches first, then it's an even out, and it's just back and forth. And in the end, I'm going to give it to the Knicks. I think that Brunson is going to show up. I know what Joel Embiid usually brings to the playoffs, and it hasn't been big performances. Tyrese has always been there for the moment, and then Paul George, also not reliable in the playoffs, never has been. Oh, I like Brunson. Brunson's a very clutch player, and it's never really mattered the matchup. I think he can get there, and as long as they can stay healthy, OG's going to provide what he provides. Cat, I think, will have some big performances because it is going to be Joel Embiid on the court, and it's not the same Joel Embiid in recent years. He's not a defending center, and if the backup is going to be Andre Drummond, he's going to have the chance to, have some incredible games. I think we go 7, and the Knicks end up pulling this out.
All right, Roman, I want to ask you a question. I want you to give me who you believe the top 5 players are in the Knicks 76ers series. In order.
Numbers or impact?
Like the best players in the series. Who is the best player in the series? And then all the way 1 through 5.
Best player, Jalen Brunson.
Okay.
Then Joel Embiid. Then Tyrese Maxey. Karl Anthony Towns. And then Paul George. That's top.
Okay. So I would say that Joel Embiid, when healthy, is the best player in this series. I would take him over Brunson. The biggest question is, can he go the distance in the series? And so for me, when I'm looking at the top 5 players, I agree with your 5. On any given night, VJ could be there. You would have hoped that Mikhail's name would have been in that mix, but it's not in the top 5. And so when I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at the Sixers, I've got the Sixers winning this series. I think the Knicks are going to choke this series like the Knicks do. And I believe this is the year that the Sixers actually do go on a run. I think Joel Embiid has found a really good spot from a minutes perspective, from the way that he's playing. And I don't believe that the Knicks can defend him. And I don't believe that Jalen Brunson is ever going to be able to stay in front of either VJ or Tyrese. I think they're going to attack him nonstop. Whoever gets the ball, they're going to be feasting. So when I look at the top 5 players, the Sixers have more. The Sixers have 3 of those 5 names. When I look at the rest of the players and the momentum that they're bringing in, the Knicks beating the Hawks versus the Sixers beating Boston, I don't know, man. I got the Sixers winning it.
It's interesting because now that I think about the top 5, since I'm saying Knicks are winning, it's going to be OG. I think OG is going to have to outperform Paul George. That's going to be my kicker.
That's the swing matchup, I think.
Yeah. I think we get the top 2 performances. Cat's always iffy. Who knows? You get the bad matchup, Cat can just have a terrible series. But I'm betting on OG to continue this performance. I think he's feeding off a lot of good energy from that Hawks series. And that's my bet now, is that OG outperforms Paul George.
Okay, and now you've got the Pistons versus the Cavs, which the East, truly the matchups are pretty even. If you're Cleveland, you're not afraid of Detroit. And if you're Detroit, I think you feel like you've got your legs underneath you and you watched the Cavs and you feel like you've got a decent shot. Where do you land on who's winning this series?
It's all Pistons for me now. Like seeing what they did to end the series versus the Magic, I think they finally found their footing. As long as no injuries come in, I'm getting this gentleman's sweep. I think the Cavs are coming off a very tough series, a very big back and forth.
Okay.
And I think the Pistons are going to come out and punch them in the face, go up 2-0. Cleveland maybe takes one when they get back home. But the Cavs are a new team now. This isn't the same roster. You're throwing out different lineups. You have Jalen Tyson in the mix right now. You have Dennis Schroeder there. This is a different team than what we were used to when this was a one-seeded team. It's just very different. So I think the Pistons now recognize that they had their down point. And I think that last 2 games showed what the Pistons really are capable of. And I think they're going to dominate. I think Cade he's going to be there for the moment. Yeah, you have the big men, the defensive big man, but Donovan Mitchell and James Harden are not a good backcourt to have thrown out there for playoffs. They're not going to be defending. Sarr is going to be eating them up out there. So we'll see what happens, but I think the Pistons offense is just going to destroy them.
Yeah, there's nobody in the series that can defend Cade Cunningham. And it is not talked about enough what he just barely did in these last 3 games. He put the Pistons on his back and said, I'm going to win this series for us. And then he did it. People were like, this guy's turning the ball over like crazy. He's like, okay, watch this. And then he defended Paolo Banchero, did a great job on both sides of the ball, and was awesome. That's the thing with Cade. He can defend 1 through 4 incredibly well, and he will meet you at the rim if you try him. So when you're looking at Donovan and James Harden, you're not getting anything free over Cade Cunningham, and you can't stay in front of him even if you tried. So if Jalen Duren at a minimum is a wash with the bigs, this series all comes down, for me, on Tobias Harris. Can Tobias Harris win his matchup and be a 22? Can he get you 22 to 28 points a game every single game in the series? If he can do that, you're going to win. But Cleveland has told you who they are. They are not good on the road. They're not capable of winning on the road, and they let teams go on runs. And so all you have to do if you're Detroit is protect home court, which you struggled doing against Orlando. But I believe you've identified why. The changes have been made. I think the Pistons win this in 6 games. I believe that the Cavs can win 2, but I've got the Pistons winning it as well.
Okay. Only time will tell. We got the matchups. We know how the second round is set. So I think you agreed, except for 76ers Knicks. So like we said, that'll be the most interesting series.
Yeah. The second round in the East is must-see television. The Western Conference Finals, best series of the playoffs.
That'll be the finals.
100%. When we get to see the Thunder play the Spurs, that is an instant classic happening real time. That's what it's going to be. Like, there is nothing that's going to get me off of the couch. There's nothing that's going to get me away from a television screen when we get to see the Thunder play the Spurs and the fact that we already have history and these guys do not like each other. I can't wait to watch it.
It's going to be one of those series like we just got from the Raptors and Cavs, but on a higher level.
Oh, yeah. No, this is
the back basketball. And forth of 2 teams who are so evenly matched and have the talent to match each other. Through 4 games, these guys are 1 point off, stuff like that. I hope that's what we get out of a Western Conference Final Series because you'll get to see the best 2 teams competing against each other.
It's going to be incredible. So my question for you, just doing some losing team exit interviews, looking at what the Magic just did and facing the facts, Desmond Bane did exactly what he needed to do in the season, was solid throughout the majority of the series. The Wagner brothers can't stay healthy. They can't stay on the floor. And you have the rest of the Magic roster where some guys playing well, some guys kind of falling off. Anthony Black, you kind of hope he takes the next step this offseason. But if you're the Magic, what do you do to get over the hump?
Not any sort of reload, not any sort of big changes. You just got to stay healthy. I think the Desmond Bane pickup was great for them. Great, reliable scorer. But Franz getting hurt ruined everything. Hurt throughout the season, then gets hurt in the playoffs. But you have what you need. You have a good starting lineup. You have your energy guy in Jalen Suggs. You might need to go get a center. We might need to switch up that center position. I think Wendell Carter's good, but is he ideal center?
Oversized. Yeah.
No. Yeah, exactly. And then off the bench, right now you have Anthony Black, De Silva. You have your young pieces, but Who's going to be that vet that can come in and affect some change? Who's going to be your Jeff Green type of guy? Who's going to be your enforcer on that second unit? Because it can't be Goga Batadze. I see Jonathan Isaac still sitting there on that bench of yours. So maybe
They
we can
wouldn't
get
let him
Jonathan
play.
Isaac
Yeah, they wouldn't
healthy.
let him play.
Yeah. So who knows what they look like, but I think we need to see some big man changes. I think you're good at the guard. You have your star forwards. You just need to shore up that bench and get a little bit better.
Yeah, I'm going to switch it up on you. I actually think it's a little different. I wouldn't have a problem if you move off of Franz because of the injury issues the last couple seasons. But I believe what this team actually needs is a true point guard. I think they need a true point guard that's able to get them easy buckets, and it doesn't have Paolo Banchero holding the ball, and they get this stagnant half-court offense. And I love Jalen Suggs. I think he's an awesome player, but I don't feel like he's a floor general. I don't feel like he's orchestrating the offense at a high enough level to get some of these guys better looks or easier offense. And so I agree with you. I think you need to bolster up the center position for sure. But if I'm looking at what is going to help Paolo get to the next level or to guarantee him maybe 6 easy points spread across each half, I'm looking at the floor general. I think they need a better point guard coming in. And then you've got Jalen Suggs rotating minutes as your combo guard between the 1 and the 2 positions.
Like it. Could be interesting. Go get that guard.
Now, what do you do if you're the Celtics? What move do you make if you're the Boston Celtics? And I'll tell you what it isn't. Stop talking about breaking up Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. What would you do if you were Brad Stevens right now?
Well, yeah, I think the conversation of splitting them up is way too soon. We act like these guys have been doing it for, 12, 13 years, but it's just injuries that happen. Let Jason Tatum get healthy, let him have the summer, and let these guys reload. They won a championship 2 years ago. I think we got to slow down on these guys. Like, 2 seed this year without him. So all the other players is background noise. Whoever you can bring back, you bring back. You are going to need some vets going into next year. It seems like they do have a lot of young guys. You got Jordan Walsh, you got Baylor Shireman. Luka Garza is your backup center right now. Cade is great, but is that a championship center? No. So you move off probably one of these pieces in Derek White. Maybe if you have to, you might even move off of Peyton Pritchard, but I think Pritchard's been good for you. You can keep him as your 6th man. He's reliable. He's consistent. But you saw what Derek White put up this year. He's still valuable, but I think you can move off of Derek White and get you those pieces that you need to get back into contention. You can still get a good guard, but you already have your star power. So go get you an upgrade at the center position, even out your bench, so you can go into next year with a reliable team that can have a deep playoff run.
The truth is, Nikola Vucevic wasn't what you hoped he would be when you picked him up. He was a little bit underwhelming in the series, but that's $21 million coming off of the books. Everybody else is locked up at a minimum through next season. And you got Peyton Pritchard for only $7 million, right? So Derek White, he goes up to $30 million next year. You got Jaylen Brown for $57 million. You got Tatum for $58 million, but you got $20 million roughly to go and find you some quality players. If you can split that and get 2 guys at $10 million a pop, that's not terrible. I mean, you're only paying Cade $2.6 million next year. So for me, I'm trying to find a veteran guy that I can get maybe around 12 million, 14 million that I can bring in that's going to play the power forward or center position. Primarily, probably you need a big or another forward that's in the rotation. You need somebody that's decent, like what I really love what the Sixers have done with Paul George, where you have Paul George and you have Oubre, and like they have a couple guys they've been in the league a long time. They're not your go-to guy, but if somebody's hurt, they can step up and be solid. If everybody's healthy, they can default to their 2 superstars at the Sixers. That's what I think that the Boston Celtics need. They need a guy that plays the forward or the center position that, when asked, can step up and give you a consistent 20 points a game.
Celtics might need that another all-star caliber player. I think they're going to need that at the big man position because they're lacking it right now.
If you can find that value for $20 million, I don't see why you wouldn't do it. Now, if you're the Hawks, I think losing by 50 points is the best thing that could have happened for the Atlanta Hawks, and I'll tell you why. an all-time generational loss. It doesn't matter if it's been a day, a week, or a month. Every single player on that roster is going to remember what the New York Knicks did to them to send them home. It's worse than not making the playoffs. You can make the argument. And so if you're Jalen Johnson and you just got embarrassed on national television and this was your playoff debut, essentially, I think you look at this as motivation. You write down a couple names on the board. You put Paolo Banchero's name on the board. You put Jason Tatum's name on the board. And you say, what do I need to do to be the best forward in the Eastern Conference next season so that I don't end up losing by 50 points ever again? And that's your motivator. You get better from shooting from the perimeter. You get a better perimeter jump shot. You continue to attack the basket with reckless abandon. You link up with Jonathan Kuminga and you guys train together in the offseason. And I think if you're the Hawks, you love what you've got in veteran leadership with CJ. You're happy with guys like Jalen being able to maybe take the next step. I don't think you do anything too crazy beyond that. I like where the Hawks are going.
Yeah, the core is there. I think you have Jalen Johnson. You have Kuminga. CJ can provide that veteran leadership. Nickeil Alexander-Walker's coming off his most improved player. I think the bench is going to be the most key thing. You have Corey Kispert. You have Gabe Vincent. You have Messi Gay getting minutes off the bench. Buddy Hield, garbage time
Gabe's
minutes.
gone. He's at 11.5. Gabe Vincent, he comes off the books. He's 11.5. CJ comes off the books at $30 million. Okay, so you're shedding $40 million in contracts at the guard position going into this offseason right now.
It's a lot. It's a lot. You can go get a very big piece, whether that's they're lacking a center. Tell me I'm wrong, but like having a Kongwu, it's great and all, but he's a great shooter. But you need a big man presence. So I don't know who you go out and get, but you need a big. You need somebody to help you inside. So I don't know what that looks like. Messi Gay was great for them off the bench, but if you do want to look at being a team that can compete in the East, you're going to have to fill out that big spot, and you're going to need a good bench.
Yeah, this is probably a team that I think looks at Nikola Vucevic as a veteran that they bring in maybe to split minutes at the 5 position. And they also have plenty of money to go and lock in a pretty solid roster. So maybe they look at a guy like Walker Kessler if the Jazz don't bring him back. Maybe that's a name who you throw in at the center position. I don't know. Some stuff does get interesting when you're looking at that team and what they could do. Maybe they look at Anthony Simons as somebody who they can bring in to play the point guard position as well, or to
Probably
split
need some
minutes
more
with Nickeil.
scoring. Yeah.
Yeah. Get some
You
perimeter.
have the scoring there, but can we get a consistent point guard as well? Can we get CJ's not even 20 points per game anymore. Nickeil's just there, but again, this is what you talk about we need a point guard on the team. We need the point guard, and you moved off of Trae Young, but you do need that position filled out. And as much as Nickeil Alexander-Walker is good, doesn't feel really like a point guard.
Sure.
I would say he's more of a 2 guard, so you go get whatever that is. And like you said, with Vucevic, it could be interesting because you can put Jalen Johnson or Kuminga on whoever the 5 is as well. I think they're ogre-sized forwards, so we'll see on that.
Hey, maybe they get a name like Kobe White. That'd get you some scoring. Not too expensive. Go get like a Kobe White for Atlanta. I could see that. Looking pretty good.
Yeah, that could be an interesting starting lineup. Because, I mean, at that point, could you bring CJ off the bench as your vet if he's willing to take that role?
If he's willing to take a pay cut?
If you get Kobe White, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, you have Kuminga, Jalen Johnson, and then whatever type of center you can get. I don't know. I've never liked a Kongwu as a center that's going to get you a deep playoff run. I just don't see
He's just kind of undersized. Yeah. I don't feel like in today's NBA you can roll out an undersized center and be viable because you're not going to compete with the Thunder, the Spurs, the Sixers. Like there's a lot. And Detroit, you won't be able to defend Jalen Duren. Like it's difficult for some of these teams. If you have a small center, look what happened in Toronto. Like Toronto just doesn't have a center. That's what they need. That's like the one major thing that they need. They needed Quigley to be healthy, and they need like legitimate size. And so I think that Wemby is forcing the issue in the NBA. Wemby and Jokic specifically, and Joel, those 3 players, like they're forcing teams to have multiple bigs because you have too many centers that are just too good at the game.
Couldn't agree more.
What player were you most impressed with in the first round?
Most impressed with? I'm trying to think of any other name but LeBron James right now.
Mine is Cade Cunningham. I don't think there was a player that had to carry more over the course of the entire series than Cade, and was asked to deliver every single game. And the fact that he was being called out for the turnovers early in the series, and him coming still pretty recently coming off of like his lung collapsing, and then just absolutely having that dog in him for the end of that series and just going on incredible run after incredible run. I mean, they were done, dude. They were down by so much. And then they just come back and win the game and take the series out of the hands of the Orlando Magic. I was just really impressed with his ability to score the basketball, the way that he carries himself, the way that the team rallies around him, the way that the city rallies around him. I just think he's an awesome player. And there was nobody that I watched through the first round that I was more impressed with game after game.
Good pick. Thought about it. Couldn't think of anybody else but LeBron James. I think he was the biggest surprise because I thought the Rockets were going to win regardless of what happened. The roster that the Lakers put out with LeBron James, if you told me that Rui Hachimura, Marcus Smart, Luke Kennard, Austin Reeves for one game, Jake LaRavia, Jared Vanderbilt, and his son Bronny James was the guys that he was going to be rolling out against this young Rockets team who was a 2 seed last year. Şengün is here. Jabari Smith is there. I don't care if Kevin Durant's not playing. The performance that LeBron put on in the first round was inspirational. This man is 41 years old. I mean, let me just even get away from the age thing. When LeBron James was on the court, you just felt the impact. You just knew that he was going to make the right play, and he did. He made the best decision for his team. Marcus Smart provided incredible help, but, I mean, come on. This team is nowhere near a team that should be winning a first-round series, and LeBron was putting up damn near triple-double numbers the entire series. He was getting the offensive rebounds. You didn't see that lackluster performance that you get from him in the regular season. He was getting back on defense. Obviously, it droops sometimes, but
Yeah,
consistently, 28, 7, and 7. You were going to get that from LeBron anyway, and especially in the closeout game. He took the big shots. He took the big moment, and he closed it out. The Rockets win 2 games. Who cares? I'll just go out there and win game 6 on their home court. And he went out there and did that. So now you have to run into the juggernaut of OKC, but shout out to LeBron for what he did in this first round.
Yeah, Jokic, top 2 player in the world. I don't think he would have won that series with the Lakers. I don't think if you put him on the
At
Lakers,
this
he
point, I
wins
don't think
that
so.
series. He couldn't even beat Minnesota. And so it just shows that even with LeBron at the stage in his career that he is, he's still capable of taking whatever is around him and winning you a series. Puts the Lakers in a very strange position in the offseason because you felt like they were planning on moving on from LeBron. But now you have to ask yourself, what are the odds Luka stays healthy over the course of an entire season? Do you really want to let LeBron walk out of the building? How do you make this all work? So it definitely puts them in a
41-year-old
strange spot.
LeBron is the only healthy one out of your top 3. He is the healthy one. I mean, it's just incredible, man. We got to start taking injuries. It's got to be a conversation about it, man. You got to stay healthy. It's
Okay,
ridiculous.
how is it that we had the TV12 diet and we don't know like what LeBron's plan is? Like, why can't we just? Is it because like it's under
He's
the
a bit more
table stuff? Like,
selfish.
what is it? Like, come on, LeBron. We need to know what it is.
There's some stuff going on.
There's some stuff going on.
Yeah, Bron's definitely,
LeBron, Barry
$1
Bonds,
million
James.
on his body. This guy has some special substances that he is ingesting.
He's got something that the rest of the league doesn't have. That's why he went bald.
Hyperbolic chamber.
That's why
Yeah.
he's bald now. Everybody was juicing on something in the 80s and the 90s. That's why they were all bald. LeBron's he's juicing now, so now he's bald. That's what it is.
Imagine we could learn a few years from now, like that's the story. The LeBron documentary, it's footage of him like injecting this technically legal, but like crazy substance into his body. It's like his charge. But he does do the hyperbolic chamber, bruh. And Well, wasn't the thing like when he got to the Lakers, like he gave up his cookies, his special cookies that he was eating all the time? So
Yeah,
he's adjusted, man. He just wants to keep going. So who knows
that
how
his
long LeBron will
chefs
be playing?
that his chefs cooked for. They were specific to him. They were made by his personal chef. Yeah, like
Bag of cookies.
let's not act like these were Oreos, But yeah. Speaking of LeBron, you brought up an interesting question when we were doing prep for the pod, where you said, what actually matters more? Is it to have the highest peak, or is it to have longevity?
Yeah. So we talked about this last week. I brought up a bunch of statistics that LeBron is getting close to.
Yeah.
He's second all time in 3-pointers in the playoffs. And that's a longevity stat. It is. LeBron is not an incredible 3-point shooter. Let's talk about this, people. Never
Yeah.
has been. He's had a couple years where he's
best.
40%, but he's never been a high volume and high percentage 3-point shooter. Like I said, 2 years at most where he's been over 40%, which is good. But like, we're talking about greatest 3-point shooters of all time. He's here because of his longevity and the assist thing. Nobody's going to catch, no, but somebody could. But in close history, nobody's going to catch Michael Jordan. Alligator. Nobody's going to catch LeBron James. Nobody's going to catch Magic Johnson. Those numbers are incredible. And people are just saying, people want to talk about LeBron. This is a longevity stat. It is a longevity stat. So it had me thinking, with LeBron continuing to just have these dominant statistical performances for this long, clearly he's the best player on the court when he plays. It doesn't matter how old he is. What matters more? Like, is a peak something that matters more? And I think this determines a lot for the GOAT debate, because until LeBron retires, it seems like this is what we're going to get. And the biggest argument that I get for Jordan being the GOAT is that he had the better peak. You can't beat a Jordan peak, honestly. And it's the same thing for Larry Bird. Shortened career, but his peak is 3 straight MVPs and winning championships.
Yeah, same with Magic.
Where's the line with these players? Like, how do we judge it? Is it truly a peak thing, or is it a longevity thing? How do you view what matters more?
At this point, for a player to become the GOAT, I believe there is a triangle of influence that a player has to clear in order to make it happen. You have to have a better peak than Michael Jordan. You have to have comparable longevity to LeBron James. And the art of your game has to rival Kobe Bryant. Because if you peak higher than Jordan, LeBron will have all of the legacy stats over you. If you rival LeBron in longevity, but you don't have the peak of Jordan, we know what that conversation is. We hear it every day. And Kobe at his peak was not winning titles. His teams were not very competitive, but the art and the mentality of Kobe Bryant is why people put him in the top 3. And so for a player to be able to universally be the GOAT after all of these guys, you have to be able to do enough in all 3 categories. And I don't even know if that's physically possible for someone to do that. But that's, I believe, what it's going to take.
There's only one guy that I can think of that might be on the trajectory to do that right now.
It's Shea or Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah.
People hate Shea's game. That's the thing, is how are you going to clear Kobe when everyone hates your game?
Yeah. So this is why I say the one guy that can do it is Wemby. There's no bad side to his game right now. He plays defense hard. He's already got a Defensive Player of the Year award. He's in the conversation for top 5 player of the league now. Like, next year, he's going to be in the MVP conversation next year.
He's going to win more Defensive Player of the Years than anyone in the history of the game. And he's probably at some point going to win Defensive Player of the Year, MVP, and a championship and Finals MVP in his career.
Yeah. So going back to the base of the question, I think that longevity is going to matter more, because even at your peak now, you're not going to be winning 6 championships. It seems like the GOAT conversation, it's becoming less about championships because you just can't do it anymore. The league is becoming so diverse that even your peak is going to be at max 2 or 3 MVPs. It just feels like it gets less and less as time goes on because the players just get better. So who knows what Wemby's career is going to look like, but you're going to have to put together a long career and win a few titles. It seems like the next generation, it might even just be 3 titles is the minimum. Because you have Kareem, 6 championships. Then you want to go to the mat. You want to go to MJ, 6 championships.
Magic wins 5.
Magic gets 5. Larry Bird has 3, but it's another shortened career.
Yeah.
Kobe, 5 championships. He gets 5 of them. But then it's like Bron and Steph in their era. It's 4 championships.
Tim Duncan also 5.
Duncan also 5. So I guess we can talk about it at the end
Shaq
of the 2020s.
4. Yeah.
At the end of the 2020s, we see where we're at. But like 2010s is 4 championships. So we might even be at 3 championships by the time we get to the end of the 2020s, like into the 2030s. I find it so interesting that people are like, they go both ways with this longevity stuff. It's all you want to call it a longevity stat, but that's exactly what it is. So I just thought it was a good conversation point.
Yeah, I mean, a three-peat in the modern era would be incredible. The other thing that you didn't mention that makes it so difficult is rosters don't stay healthy like they used to. John Stockton and Karl Malone were incredibly durable. Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen were incredibly durable. A lot of those rosters that were competing every year, incredibly durable. Tim Duncan was incredibly durable. Kobe Bryant, durable. Shaq, when he was in his peak, was durable in his peak. He just chose to not stay in his prime. So, like, LeBron is better longer than anyone. He is the universal outlier, but you do not see the same level of durability out of these stars like you did before. Giannis, when he reaches his peak and wins a title, his body broke down. Like, he just was not able to sustain it, has never been able to climb the mountain again. Jokic, his roster has fallen apart around him, and he underperformed in series, and so they have not been able to do it again. The Oklahoma City Thunder have a legitimate chance to do it because Shea is incredibly durable, and Shea is fantastic in the clutch, and the Thunder have enough names around him to that it feels like when you lose an all-star, it doesn't matter, but they are dealing with injuries, and Wemby himself is very prone to injury. And so even if you do maintain incredible play, the roster around you falling apart feels more like it feels like the playoffs in the 2020s are a war of attrition more than it's the best players against the best players. It's, can your roster stay together long enough to get to the end?
I agree. That's exactly what it is. We're in that era of who's going to stay healthy truly does not matter. And it's never been this bad in basketball. So hopefully it changes. But I like the point that you made about Shea. It seems like he's never playing out of sorts to the point where he could have a major injury like that. So I think we are going to get to see a very long career out of Shea because he's so under control and poised. And I think that's what the next generation is going to have to bring to the table. You cannot be, even Anthony Edwards, he oversteps the line of athleticism and it gets him hurt. It hyperextends his knee.
Yeah.
So it's going to be that next level of guys who can be explosive, but under a different amount of control.
A lot of people are talking about how there's at least 20 NFL players that could play the Asar Thompson, Lou Dort role in the NFL. They could translate to the NBA, but there's nobody in the NBA that could fill the Myles Garrett role in the NFL. To me, I feel like this is the weirdest conversation because in the NFL, the Eagles literally drafted a guy who's never played a snap of football. There's no other sport that is easier to just walk in and immediately play than football. Hey, your job is to hit the man in front of you and go find the ball and tackle him. That's your job. Guess what? You may not have all the technical skills, but if you're big enough, you're going to get to the football. Hey, you are going to go stand out there and run 10 yards back and don't let anybody catch the ball in this zone. That's not a difficult concept to wrap your head around. And we played football. Like, I played football and basketball, so I understand. But there's no one on the planet who's never shot a ball that you could say, hey, guess what? Tonight, you need to guard prime Nikola Jokic. Hey, tonight, we need you to defend Anthony Edwards. Hey, we need you to give us a cool 18 tonight. There's nobody who can do that. It just doesn't translate. And then the size of the players, it doesn't work as well. But you can't tell me Tyrese Maxey or Anthony Edwards wouldn't be able to play in the secondary. Are you kidding me? You can't tell me that. You can't tell me Zion Williamson wouldn't have been a great left tackle with the way that kid can move. You can't tell me that. You can't. And so this argument's got to stop. NFL guys, you got to give it up. Football is the easiest sport to go pro in. It is by far the easiest sport. Basketball is one of the most difficult because you have to be a statistical outlier to even qualify. Point guards are 6'6" now.
The barrier of entry just keeps getting harder and harder for me.
If you live in the wrong town, if you're 6'6", you're playing center. You're never going to the league.
Exactly.
Come on, man.
Basketball is too diverse of a sport. There's too many niches. There's too many skills to it. And this isn't to discredit football at all.
No.
Entry level, I don't think there's a sport that's easier than football. If you are athletically gifted, you will be good at football. You can get into football, learn one skill, and just expand on that and become great. But for basketball, there's both sides of the ball. There's shooting. There's dribbling. Like all the intangibles that you can think of for footwork. I mean, all the intangibles that you can think of for football, good footwork, being quick, being strong. Like all those skills that you need for football are in basketball, but then there's a different level to it because there's both sides of the ball, and then there's just a lot more technical skill to it that doesn't just have to do with physical strength. So I think the conversation is a weird one because, it just goes back to the point that you made of a guy getting drafted who's never played a snap in his life. I can't imagine if you took a 20-year-old and you were like, based on your athleticism, we're going to put you in the NBA. You can't do that. The coordination that you have to have in order to get to the league now is unmatched. You can't do that. You want to look at guys who did have the opportunity late to make it to basketball. Joel Embiid, 15 years old when he started playing ball. Even then, he was 15 when he started. He didn't just get thrown into the league.
Yeah,
so I think
the only name I can think of is a Pat Spencer.
Yeah.
Who comes in and is a three-point shooter. That's as good as it gets. Like some of the names that stand out to me are like a Dennis Rodman who picked up basketball late and was an incredible all-time rebounder, defender. Joel Embiid's a great one. Pat Spencer, lacrosse player that translates to basketball. But a football player's game doesn't translate the way that Pat Spencer's game translates. Like Pat's a shooter. Like it's not the same.
Someday we'll get an athlete who does both and is elite at both. Cannot wait for that day to just see a college athlete in basketball and football. That would be incredible to see, and we'll get their opinion on it. I think it could happen. I wish Jalen Suggs.
We should ask Jalen Suggs.
Football.
Yeah, we should ask Jalen Suggs.
That's the person that we need to ask. Jalen Suggs, let us know. You could have been a starter at a D1 college playing football. You were the best quarterback in Minnesota. So let us know where we stand on this. What was more difficult for you, running the point guard position or playing quarterback? And where do you stand on what's more difficult, football or basketball? Please let us know, Jalen Suggs. I know you just got kicked out of the playoffs, so you got plenty of time.
I want to close the podcast with this. The NBA has their games overlapping in the second round. Is this some kind of joke? Why is it that you are not capable of giving us one game for 2.5 hours and then the next game for 2.5 hours? Why would you ever have your second round games overlap? It's horrible. Like, Adam, I was already pissed about the draft stuff. I've already been mad about plenty of things this guy's done. But this actually genuinely makes no sense. People want to watch your games. They're already on 3 different networks. Can you just not put the games overlapping so we can enjoy the product without missing a quarter or a half?
It makes the product feel less valuable.
Yes.
Okay, you're allowed to miss the first half of this game so you can catch up. Or you're allowed to miss the second half of this game because this game doesn't really matter. It's just weird to do to your own product. There's enough time in the day that you can schedule it out. I mean, start a game at 4:00. Do it. I'm okay with that, but having games overlap, it truly makes it feel like you don't care about some of these matchups. You're telling me there's first round playoff games that start at 5:00, another one that starts at 6:00. Why are we doing that? We're at a point where, like you said, we have multiple networks. that are streaming these games, and the product is becoming good. Like Peacock, what they're doing with everything, NBC technically, what they're doing with everything,
It is
it's
good.
fun to watch. People want to watch pregame. People want to watch postgame. They've got the names. Everything is going well. But yeah, we're overlapping still in 2026 after we're having the best playoff viewership in years. Make it matter more. Make it seem like this is an occasion.
Well,
Shouldn't be tuned into anything else. I shouldn't be having to switch back and forth.
The Sixers and the Knicks, the game starts at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and then the Wolves Spurs at 7:30. Start the Knicks Sixers game at 5, which is 7 o'clock on the East Coast, and then start the Wolves game at.
Mo, are you serious?
Yes, the game
happens tomorrow.
It happens tomorrow. This is what I'm saying. Why would you ever do this to yourself? Why wouldn't you start that game at 5? I get it in the first round. There's too many games for a Thursday night, sure. But you could start that Sixers game at 5 p.m. Mountain Time, and you could start the Wolves game at 8 o'clock. You could give a 3-hour, you could literally push the Wolves game 30 minutes, and you could push the Sixers game up an hour because the games were starting at 5 in the first round. So why are you doing this?
There's got to be some specific reason that they're doing this because.
No, it's ridiculous because then you go to Tuesday and the Cavs and the Pistons play at 5 and the Lakers play at 6:30. The Lakers.
Then you go to Wednesday and it's separated. Why are we doing this Monday and Tuesday?
I don't understand it. I don't know why they're doing this. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Second round game one's overlapping. This is inexcusable. I thought we were referring to the first round. I hadn't looked at the times for tomorrow.
No, I'm talking about the second round. That's why I'm like Adam. How do you look at this and go, this is good for the game? How's this good for the game, Adam Silver?
2 games over a 5-hour slate, and you can't just separate it.
You can't give us you can't give one game 3 hours. And you can't give the Knicks 3 hours, who are one of the biggest television draws that we have as a franchise.
Yeah, the fact that I'm going to have to pause the second game.
You have to split screen the Knicks and Victor Wembanyama. So your face, this is why the NBA can't get a face of the league. You want a face of the league in Victor Wembanyama? Let him play standalone. Get everybody to watch the Knicks and then have them translate to watch Victor Wembanyama, and you'd be fine. But you want to have the games overlap. Like, people are going to watch the Sixers play the Knicks, and you're going to miss half the game.
Yeah.
It's
joke, disgusting.
This is a joke.
There's 8 teams left. This is the semifinals. That is disgusting. I didn't know that. I don't like that at all. Got to lock in, Adam.
Yeah. So, Adam, you guys you're not focusing on the right things, okay? Let's figure it out. And with that, Season 3, Episode 30. Listen, if you are not following us already, please do. We are on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. We're on YouTube, and we're on Buzzer, BZZR Buzzer, the sports-only social media platform. It is brand new. There is no extra stuff, no other stuff. It is all sports all the time. We are on Buzzer. Trust me. If you go there, you're going to see the Swishlist Podcast. That is a promise. We post there quite a bit. We are super live. We're reacting to people live. We'll comment back and forth with you. If you've got a take or you want to talk to us, you can speak to us there. So please, if you have not already, download Buzzer, BZZR, and be sure to give us a follow at the Swishlist Podcast. We are excited for the second round. The Eastern Conference is going to be an incredible watch, and we will be there for every minute of it. So make sure to stay tuned with us. This is episode 30. We'll also be posting a couple recaps throughout the week as well, so stay tuned for those on social media. And if you've got a friend that doesn't know ball, send them this podcast so they can learn something before these games really kick off. And with that, Season 3, Episode 30, we are out.